most men will admit that the number one thing that's holding them back in reaching their physical endeavours is probably something to do with food, right? And I know that this is the main problem, and I have to counteract these problems with all of my clients all the time. Because if I know that it's going to give you the most grief and it's going to deter you from staying on plan, I have to have the answers, right? And I'm going to give you the answers as well, because you YouTube legends put a smile on my face when you comment on random stuff and you ask questions on my videos. So I like to, give you the lessons that I learn with my one-on-one clients, and also give you the lessons that I've learned from coaching elite soldiers for the past 10 years, right? So, food, where most people get it wrong, right? And I'm not scripting this video, I'm just rattling it off, pure knowledge, pure game, pure experience, right? No editing, none of that crap. If I mumble my words, then fair enough, laugh at me, right? The first mistake people will make, and I'm going to give you the mistake, then I'm going to say the solution, right? The first mistake most people make is a reluctance to use numbers, right? You've got to understand, fundamentally, you've got a part of your brain that hates the idea of development and loves comfort. And you've got a part of your brain, which is you watching a fucking video that's going to help you. You've got that part of your brain that looks forward and goes, I want to develop. I want to make progress. I'm a man. I want to be the best version of myself. So there's always a little battle, right? However, a reluctance to use numbers is because this person is winning that conversation. The survival part of your brain that wants comfort. Because if it doesn't get comfort, it thinks it's going to die. Right? It's ridiculous, but that's what it was designed to do, and that's why we are here where we are now after millions of years of evolving as human beings. The problem is, you listen to comfort in that scenario, you reluctantly use numbers to guide you, right? And I'm going to say, before you even switch off this video and go, oh, he's going to just count every calorie. No, I'm not. I'm a fucking human at the end of the day. I like to keep it as effortless as possible, right? So, what a reluctance to use the numbers leads to, it leads to you choosing diet choices. And the word diet is a perfect example of this. Diet means temporary. Instead of doing numbers, you will go on a rule set of keto, paleo, low carb, loads of salads, whatever, caveman. You'll do all of these things as a means to satisfy the creature that is saying don't do the numbers because the numbers work, and it gives you the perception that you will actually head towards your goals. But you've got to understand the reason why you chose that thing in the first place, and you chose it because of a reluctant. Oh, I'm not counting my numbers. I'm not looking at my daily calorie expenditure and replacing that amount of fuel. I'm not doing that. So fundamentally, the reason why all these people are doing all these gay fucking diet choices, don't call it a diet. You should just be eating nutrient-dense food in which you absolutely enjoy eating, right? I'll get more into that in a bit. But this is the setup, right? Setup, then there's obviously execution. So a reluctance to use numbers to give you your foundation, right? And I don't mean counting every fucking calorie, counting every fucking fat gram, and counting every carb, right? What I mean is setting yourself up based off your numbers, right? Do a calorie calculator, suck it up, right? And just run at maintenance, right? And you'll probably find in a lot of regards that you running your food at maintenance with a nutrient-dense meal plan, you have got a lot of food to eat, right? But instead of counting calories, set up your meal plan with foods and meals that you fucking love eating, right? So this gets me on to problem number 2. People start going, oh, I don't like eating the same foods every day. Like, that is absolute bullshit. Who doesn't like eating eggs in the morning? Who doesn't like eating beef? Who doesn't like eating chicken? Who doesn't like eating pasta? We love eating good foods. Like, half of my clients are on beef and eggs in the morning. Like, so I'm talking about filling your meal plan up with meals in which you enjoy eating. Do you know what I mean? And keeping these meals pretty simple for you to prepare. Because if you've got 20 different ingredients in a meal, you're going to be furious when you're preparing these meals. So remember, there's no excuses. Like, I've heard people say this, right? This is a bit of a side note, but it's pretty funny. I just can't eat the same things. I just don't like eating the same things. Mate, you eat the same fucking things from a takeaway. You have favourite foods with regards to takeaway choices. Now, I'm not saying that's you, right? And this whole video is to tap into that elite version of you and make the creature fucking calm down a little bit, and you can just effortlessly have a really good stint at this, developmental path where your nutrition is just a hell of a lot easier, right? So, execution, setup, right? So you're setting up foods in which you enjoy eating, because at the end of the day, when you're having battles with yourself and you're looking at a meal that you love eating, how easy is it to do the right thing in that moment? Do you know what I mean? So, setup. Obviously, that links into preparation as well. Doing your meal prep, making sure you have got meals in the fridge that you love eating. If you love eating them, why would you ever not eat them? It sounds so simple, but when I see my clients, right, then they're like, oh, I was really hungry, or I didn't eat the meals today. I didn't eat the meals today, Greenie. I'm like, right, why? Right, I don't need to say why, because I'm already guessing. I've got that much experience coaching blokes like you. I know the answers before you even give me them. It's like, oh, I didn't eat this meal. I had a chicken Caesar salad instead of, X, Y, and Z. And I'm just like, even though I'm asking why so you identify the reason why. Even though I know the answer. The answer is usually lack of preparation. You just forgot to do your meal prep a couple of days before. You've left yourself in a scenario where you didn't take necessary meals with you. And I'm getting into like the nitty gritty here, and you might build up some friction just listening to what I'm saying. And I don't want you to, because fundamentally, I want you to think about this as an overview, and I don't want you to get caught up in the nitty gritty, because that'll put you off, right? So, setup. Point number one, numbers are important. However, don't get caught up into the nitty gritty fucking milligrams of certain micronutrients. You'll drive yourself insane, right? A high performance meal plan, right? And I say performance is a key indicator, should be around about 50% carbohydrates. It should be filled with food in which you absolutely fucking love eating. Oats, rice, beef, eggs, chicken, like mixed berries, mixed salad, mixed vegetables, yogurt, berries, dark chocolate. Like, obviously you can swap them out and however you see fit, but at the end of the day, when somebody says to me, oh, it's just a food, right? They've just never set things up. 9 times out of 10, they have never set things up correctly. And one thing I always get with lads on my program, they are mind blown by how much food I'm giving them to start off with. Because the first thing you need to understand is the mistake most people make with regard to their setup. They will undercut the amount of. They will look at a calorie calculator and go, right, I want to lose loads of weight, so I have to undercut my maintenance calories by a large amount, and by doing so it's too aggressive, you burn out too quickly, and you're miserable, right? But I'm a human at the end of the day, right? And I understand that you're a human as well, and we need to make you feel good in a 24-hour period, but not just feelings based, because we're not feelings based all the time, but logically I need to make you feel good in training. I need to make sure your recovery is going to be really good as well. So now we're getting into the execution, right? And this is where I genuinely believe this is the most important part, right? Even though your setup's really important, the execution is so important, right? And this is where I call it, me as a coach, having certain tricks up my sleeve in which I can deploy, right? Because let's say you're on a weight loss mission. The first thing that you're going to struggle with is hunger levels during the day. So how do I as a coach, and I know you watch these videos, a lot of you might not have been coached before, but just understand that a coach usually knows what he's talking about, right? So how do they, because they've done these things before in the past, and they've also guided people as well in your situation. If they cannot solve your issue of hunger, because hunger is a fucking emotion, and it's a very problematic emotion. So if you're trying to lose weight and you feel hungry all the time, you're going to be pretty furious, right? It's just not, and the coach doesn't want you to be furious, miserable, and thinking about food all the time. So he has to have tricks up his sleeve in which he can deploy to reduce your level of hunger, so that it's not a concern, so that you can eat the food, you can train like an absolute maniac and get insane results, which makes the coach look better. Like, just understand that there is tricks you can do, and I'm going to tell you them all the ones that I can remember in this moment. I'm going to tell you them all. The first thing, right, is I love to do this. This is my own principle. I don't know anybody that says this, but split your day up into two, right? Your work, whether you're in the office, whether you're doing construction, or whether you're doing a trade or whatever, you've got work and you've got performance. Basically, split your day up into two. And what I mean by this specifically is having your nutrition of the work stuff being brain food, and then have your nutrition for your high performance, whether that's jiu-jitsu, rock climbing, whether that's weightlifting, have that body food. So you split it up into two. So you've got basically two priorities, right? And one thing is that just by doing that, you're great, okay, cool, I'm working. Then you start to justify what you need and what you don't actually need. So you can make sensible moves. It's like waking up and having breakfast within half an hour of waking up. It's like, why? Why do you need to have 600 calories of oats first thing on the morning? There's literally no reason for it. Unless you're training, an hour or 2 hours after that. There's no reason. So by splitting it up, you can make great decisions. Like when you're in work mode, brain mode, problem solving mode, physical output doesn't really you're not really that bothered about physical output. You're just bothered about being able to do your job to a reasonable standard, and then, start to think about training as when your work day finishes. So usually most people train on an evening, and people work, 9 till 5, 8 till 4. So if you slot in things in which are slow digesting, that fucking taste amazing, that fill you up for multiple hours, that aren't really that many calories, you're going to be set up so well for when you start to think about training. Because if you do that, most of your calories will be surrounding your training sessions, fueling for high performance. You could even have intra-workout carbohydrates if you do like this, post-workout meal as well, carbohydrates, protein shakes, yogurt on a night, by doing this, right? And if you've got a little bit of fat on your frame, one little superpower you will have, which I don't think a lot of people actually realize that they have, is because you've got a little bit of fat on your frame, you can actually push your first bit of food back as far as possible in your day. And this is the thing, right? I'm going to give you a little bit of nerdy science just to basically validate what I'm saying. As soon as you eat carbohydrates in the morning, blood sugar starts to go up, whether that's complex carbohydrates, whether you're having oats, blood sugar. It doesn't matter whether you're hungry or whether you need carbohydrates or not. As soon as that blood sugar starts to creep back down, you're going to start feeling hungry, right? So how the fuck do you avoid that? Well, you avoid that just by not having any food. On a morning, I recommend to all my clients on weight loss missions. Weight gain's a completely separate concept, by the way. Deep breath. Push your first meal back as far as possible, right? But there is one caveat to this. Don't push it back too far that it makes the rest of your food virtually impossible to eat. Remember, the whole 24-hour food is important to get down your neck. How you time it, you can be strategic to keep hunger at bay, right? And by pushing your first meal back, let's be honest, we wake up, we're not hungry. We start drinking water, we start drinking coffee, we're not hungry. There is no real reason to need carbohydrates on a morning. Breakfast the most important meal of the day? Nah, mate. It's just like, nah. Unless you are training on a morning, yes, you might want to have some carbohydrates before and after training, right? But if you're not training on a morning, you can push your first meal back to like noon, 1 p.m. and have like fat and meat, so eggs and beef. Because it's protein, it takes ages to digest. Fat reduces how quickly that digests as well. So that meal is going to take 2, 3, 4 hours to digest, satiating you for that long. So it's going to get to a point where you're feeling primal on a morning, you're fully hydrated, you're caffeined off your nut, problem solving at work, feeling lean because you know your body's just not taking in any calories. Comes noon, beef and eggs, you feel like a machine because of the nutrient density of that profile of the meal. And then you go, cool, now I'm satiated for the rest of the afternoon. Come 2 p.m, 3 p.m, you're like, now we've got one eye on your training session. Because you've fueled your brain with all the problem-solving foods and all the nutrients that you need for just work, because work doesn't necessarily require high physical output in most settings. But come mid-afternoon, you've now got one eye on a small meal, like a chicken and rice with vegetables, because you're thinking about, you've got one eye on your training session now, a little bit of foresight. Then when you get home, you get showered, you have your oats, pre-gym oats, and then you're into your training session. And that way, at that point of the day, you've probably had about 1,300 calories, and now you're into a high performance, high quality training session where you're fueled perfectly at the right part of the day. And because you've just only had 1,300 calories, because you've timed everything really well, you're not hungry, you've now got about 1,000, 1,200 calories to eat after that. You're going to walk into like beef and pasta sauce, vegetables, maybe some feta cheese, which is about 800 calories. And you can have a 400 calorie yogurt bowl at the end of that. And you're going to be stuffed. By pushing your first meal back, you basically create a window of food at the end of the day. If you wake up and start eating, you're on that carb roller coaster, carb, blood sugar up, blood sugar down, I'm now hungry, even though you're not really hungry. Your body's just saying, my blood sugar's going down, and the feeling turns on of hunger. You eat that first meal, then noon's going to come round and everybody you know working is eating their food. Who cares about what they're doing? They're consuming unnecessary calories, like 1,000 by noon, that they didn't even need, right? So this is the execution part. So, take what you want from this. It's all about ideas and concepts. I want to give you ideas and concepts, right? If you want me to run you through this in a one-to-one basis, me helping you out every day, the first link in the description is to work with me on a one-on-one basis, right? But that's that. It's the idea of making it easier for yourself. And when you start to get hungry, you want to pick meal ideas that are slowly digesting. But them meal ideas, you really want to make sure that you enjoy, right? Fundamentally enjoy. Vegetables, high fiber vegetables, mixed salad, and mixed berries, high in fiber. Fiber takes a while to digest, and they're low in calories. These parts of your meal plan start to become very important when you're in the depths of your meal plan, because you're literally looking at a meal and you're looking at loads of veg and loads of meat and loads of eggs, and you're like, oh my God, I fucking love veg. Because you're getting all this veg in, because you need the fiber to satiate you for longer, you're getting all those micronutrients in. And it's in these moments it's really beautiful, because you start thinking about the idea and the mindset change of diet to nutrient-dense eating. The word diet assumes that this is temporary. It assumes that you're going to do it for a certain period of time and you're going to go back into fat creature mode and just feel like shit. All you're doing is setting yourself up for success, executing it based on the daily priority output requirement you've got, whether that's working in an office. You don't need carbohydrates if you work in an office. Water, caffeine, fats and protein, towards the end of your work day, a little bit of carbohydrates, get home, showered, oats, jam, raisins, straight into the gym like an absolute fucking savage. And then after that, you've got so much food to repair, replenish all your glycogen stores, and then have an evening of like, wow, that was easy.